guys, welcome back to the YouTube channel and welcome to today's video. I thought it'd be a really good opportunity today to basically just answer some questions. I did a little Q&A box on my Instagram and you guys asked me some questions on there, so I thought I would just start by answering those, have a little chat with you, a little update, a little just a life update, see what's going on, because it feels like there's just so much going on and I share a lot with you guys, but sometimes I don't go into loads of detail in like vlogs and stuff, so I thought this would be a good chance to just sit down and catch up and just chill out together. I'm going to answer my questions on my phone that I've got from Instagram. I've got loads and they cover so many subjects like home stuff, like whether we're moving, what we're doing with that, what we, you know, all of that stuff, lots of George stuff, lots of YouTubey stuff, and lots of wedding stuff as well. So there's loads and loads and loads to get through, so let's crack on. I thought I'd split these up into like categories, the first one being home and moving and like that kind of area, and then I think I'll go on to George related stuff, and then I think I'll finish off with like wedding bits and then the ad hoc things at the end. So I'll split this up and I'll put little timestamps down below so you can see like what each section is about, and you can like skip through them if you're not interested. But the first section I'm going to talk about is home related, or like house related, moving related, all of that stuff. So just like answering the questions, but I'll also go into a little bit of depth just to give you guys some context, because I haven't spoke about it massively, but I have hinted to it in the past. So the first question was, are you staying in the similar area or are you moving to a different part of the country? So that's the first question. And so just a little bit of background. I feel like I need to give you guys some context because I know that I've just moved back to this house and you guys will probably be like, why are you moving again? That makes no sense. So just like a little bit of context. My partner is in the military and we move around a lot because of that. He works in a different part of the country at the moment to where we live, and that's fine. This is our house and we bought it, but we were living where he works in military accommodation, which wasn't our house. It wasn't a very nice house or a very good area, to be honest. Not because the area was rough or anything, it was actually quite nice, but the military housing that we lived in was it was fine. It was very standard military housing. Any of my fellow military families out there will know what service family accommodation is like. It was very standard. It had wood chip walls, and it was magnolia throughout. But other than that, you know what, I really couldn't complain too much about the house, other than the fact that it wasn't mine. It was an okay house, and let's face it, they give you a massive discount for housing. You can get that on the private rental market, and you can buy a house and have a mortgage that cheap. So like I really couldn't complain. However, it was so far away from anything, and I'm talking 30-minute drive to the closest supermarket, and during lockdown as well, I think that got to us, the fact that we were so isolated from anyone or anything, and all of our family live completely nowhere near that. That was the reason that we came back to this house, and it was a short-term decision. We were never going to move back into Sarah's family accommodation, but we knew that this isn't the place that we want to live, because the reason we bought here was because his last posting in the military was close to here. So this was our first house. It is our first house. We bought it in 2018, and now we've kind of made the decision as a family that we want to move to where we're going to live and settle down for like indefinitely, like where George will go to school, where he'll grow up, the house that he'll grow up in, and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to go into details about where it is, but it is in a different part of the country. It's closer to where we are both from. That is sort of the decision that we have made. It's about probably 2.5, 3 hours away from here, and we've been going up and down, viewing houses in that area, and we have actually accepted an offer that has been placed on this house. So we're in a really good position and things are moving, but I know that these things take a lot of time, especially when you're in chains and other people are in chains and they've got to sell their house and like whatever. But yeah, that's sort of the situation, and that's why we're moving. I thought that was quite important to like explain, because it kind of wouldn't have made any sense if, yeah, I was just like, oh yeah, we moved here in October and then we're moving again. But as things stand, we haven't got another place to go yet. We haven't found a house that we are absolutely in love with. So yeah, we're just kind of on the house hunting journey, I would say. The next question about like moving and the next house and things are, what are your must-haves in your next home, and that they're really excited for us, which is really, really sweet. So yeah, this is a list that I've been working on because I want to be realistic as to what we can afford, but I also really want this house to be the house that we grow in as a family, and like I said, George grows up in, and like it'll be his childhood home kind of thing. In my ideal world, I know that life doesn't always work out that way, but in my ideal world, that would be like what happens. My list of like must-haves are either semi-detached, end of terraced, or detached, 3 bedrooms, a drive, allocated parking, or a garage, preferably a drive or allocated parking. Like at the moment, basically, our parking here in this area is atrocious, and I've got many tickets for parking on places I shouldn't park. So yeah, allocated parking or a drive of some sort is like key, especially when you've got buggies, babies, bags, just all of that palaver. Like it's just essential now. Like it really just is. Carrying George in from the car, as well as his nursery bag, as well as like a bag of shopping, and like my laptop from work and stuff, it is just utter chaos. So yeah, a drive is like essential. It's something that I can't like pinpoint as to like exactly what it is, but the layout downstairs needs to be able to work for us, because at the moment we've got a very large living room and we've got a kitchen that we have a dining table in. I wouldn't say necessarily it's a kitchen diner. We have a good sized kitchen with a table in it. So I guess it is a kitchen diner, but it's a small kitchen diner, I would say. I would, in my absolute ideal world, like, and I don't know if we can afford it, and I haven't really found a house that fits this exact criteria just yet, I would love to have a big open like kitchen diner at the back of the house, and then like a smaller living room, like snug area at the front of the house, and sort of walk in and there'd be like a nice wide hallway. That would be my absolute ideal, but I am absolutely not averse to getting a house that needs work. So if we wanted to like knock down walls and put walls in different places and like even do extensions or something, like that's something that I would be open to, but it wouldn't be something that would be doable in the next like a couple of years. We would probably have to buy a house and then figure out like buy a house with the intention in a couple of years to like do stuff to it, extend it, or move walls or whatever to make it work for us as we grow. But yeah, that's kind of my ideal. My dream would probably be to get a house that we would love to live in for the next couple of years, and then do something to it at that point once we've saved some money towards doing it up and all that kind of stuff. I think that would be my absolute dream. So yeah, those are my like must-haves, I guess. I hope that that's not like really setting my levels too high, because at the moment we're in a mid-terrace ex-council house. It's our first house, like we bought it quite cheap back in 2018, like I said, and we don't have any parking. We did do the kitchen and made that lovely, but we didn't restructure anything because the stairs go straight through the kitchen and the living room, so there's literally, unless you wanted to start moving staircases, which would just be a bit ridiculous, there's not really anything that we could have done more to this house other than potentially knocking the wall between the bathroom and the kitchen and making that a big family bathroom. That would have definitely been something that I would want to do if we were staying here, but we're not. The last question that I wanted to answer on the like house/moving section was, what is your main reason for wanting to move, and are you not happy in your current house? And the answers to those two things, I think, are firstly, living where we lived before, where my partner was posted. It made us realise what was important to us as a couple and as a family, and I feel like definitely lockdown had a part to play in all of this, but we just want to be closer to friends and family, like not necessarily like on the doorstep, but we want to be like within an hour. We want to be like close where we can just go, right, we're going to go there today and we're going to have a nice day out and then we'll come back home that day. Like at the moment we have to travel up and down motorways and stay overnight, and then it's a big faff with like George and like with getting him to sleep and all that kind of stuff, and then you end up not going because it's too much effort, and then you don't see the people that you really want to see, and it's like, actually forget that. There's no reason we have to be here. Neither of us are like bound by work anymore to this location, and things are changing so much where, you know, working from home is an opportunity that we have. I obviously have YouTube, and that might be something that I want to pursue a little bit further down the line. So actually location isn't the biggest deal ever. Yes, Ash is still in the military, but actually where we are looking to is closer to where he currently is, and whether he gets posted somewhere else afterwards, then that's kind of something that we'll deal with along the way. I think we are quite keen for George to have like a settled home, and by the time we even get to actually moving, which will probably be like at least 6 months at this rate, George might actually be at an age where he remembers things, and I want him to just like grow up in a house like I did as a kid, and it will be his family home. And that's just something that I really, really want for him, especially I really, really, really do not want to be moving him like primary school to primary school and then secondary school to different secondary schools. Like, if we can avoid that, absolutely we would. So if we get to the right areas, right catchment areas, all that jazz, then we'll be in the right place for when George starts school and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, there are a few reasons, but the reason isn't that we hate this house. Like, we absolutely don't hate this house at all. Yes, the parking's rubbish. Yes, it's like mid-terrace and like, you know, there are things that I would rather have. However, we love this house because it's our first house. It's where we brought our baby boy home to. It's where we brought Molly home to when we first got Molly, and it was our first like time living together. Like, it's a really important place for us. It's actually not a bad size either. Like, it's a 3-bedroom mid-terrace, and it's an old council house, like I said. So the older council houses tend to be quite bigger. We've definitely made it our own, and I do feel like home here. However, I can't just pick this house up and move it somewhere else and like give myself parking. I can't do that. So it is time to move, and it's definitely the right decision. I'm really, really excited about it, but I'm not gonna move unless it's like the right house. Like, I'm not in like this mad rush where we have to move. Like, we definitely don't think in our heads like we have to move before the wedding or we have to move before any point in time really. We want to move, and we want to make sure that we're moving to the right house and not just like rushing moving just because we've accepted an offer on this house, for example. Okay, moving on to the next section, which is like baby related, kids related, George related, anything to do with him basically. So I am going to call this section like the baby section, baby questions or something like that. And the first question was, are you thinking about having another baby anytime soon? And the answer to that is no. We're not thinking about it anytime soon. Like I've kind of alluded to, we have a fair bit going on this year, so it's not something that's on the cards at the moment. We're moving, we've got a wedding, we'll be obviously going on our honeymoon. It's just a lot, so yeah, not anytime soon, I don't think, and I don't think there's anything more to say on that. I mean, we will probably have a second kid at one point, but just when is anyone's guess. The next question is one that I anticipated, and it's by far the most asked question, and it's something that I've been avoiding, and I'm not really sure why. I just didn't really know how to broach the subject. So it's not like I've been hiding it or whatever, it's just, well, I don't know, I just felt weird about mentioning it, I guess. And it's basically, why are you not showing George's face on YouTube and Instagram anymore, all of a sudden? And I don't really know why I feel really weird about this. Well, actually, when George was first born, I said that I wasn't going to show him on Instagram and YouTube, which is an absolute joke, really, considering how much he's been all over here. It only lasted, that little thing probably lasted about 3 or 4 weeks, and then I did start showing his face. Then I kind of decided, right, when he hits 1, I will stop showing him, because it's like 1, it's a good point to say, right, no, and he's got his own little personality now and all that kind of stuff. He's now 17 months. And it's taken me 5 months since he got to 1 to actually take the plunge and make that decision. Yeah, he's not going to be, his face is not going to be on Instagram and YouTube anymore. Obviously, I am still his mum, I will still talk about him a lot, and he will still be like in the background and like doing his own thing all the time. But I've just kind of made the decision that it's not the place for him anymore, and that's not to say that it's the wrong or right decision to like to put him on here anyway. It's just that he hasn't said, look, I want to be on YouTube, I want to be on the internet, and he might not want to be at some point. I just felt like it was the right time. There's no like particular reason. I guess there was one comment that I had on an Instagram post that kind of went, oh, I really didn't like the fact that someone had attacked George. It was just that I'm not even going to mention it too much because it's giving them too much limelight, but there was a comment made about George, and I couldn't believe that someone would say something nasty about a kid anyway, which I just thought, wow, like, you absolute psychopath. But I just don't want to expose him to stuff like that unnecessarily. Like, what's the point? That just means me not putting him out there, which is absolutely fine. I'll share pictures that I take with him with my family on WhatsApp instead of sharing them on Instagram, I guess. I mean, that's really all it is. So yeah, that's it really. I guess it was just a decision that I'd been putting off because I do love sharing him on here, because I know that lots of you can relate. I know that we like all connect on like a mum level so much, but I just, yeah, it was just time. That's pretty much it. So yeah, no more George. That's pretty much all I have to say. Another George related question was about food and stuff. There's quite a lot about food, but one of them was, are you raising George as vegetarian? And if so, could I ask the reason? Is it ethical, health reasons, like why? And I think it's a really good question, because I do tend to give him lots of veggie stuff. But he's not I'm not vegetarian, he's not vegetarian, Ash isn't a vegetarian, and I'm not raising him necessarily as a vegetarian. However, I do give him a lot of non-meat options, and there's no like specific reason. I guess if I had to give a reason, it would be health reasons, just because I'm trying to reduce my meat intake. Like, I still have chicken every now and then, fish I eat. I wouldn't say no to a lovely lamb roast dinner, but I do try and reduce my meat intake, if that makes sense. So like on a general week, I would say I eat meat once or twice maybe, and the other times will be veggie options or whatever. So I would, yeah, I don't know, I don't know why. I really don't know why. I'm just trying to reduce my meat intake really, and therefore that like is reflected in George's stuff. One big reason I would say is like if I'm getting freezery type things, like things that you put in the freezer and then get out and put in the oven and then give to George, like think about chicken nuggets, chips and beans or something like that, or whatever, I feel much better about it if those nuggets aren't chicken nuggets, like ground out chicken whatever. And I'm sure it's not as bad as I think it is, but you know, you always get told horror stories as a kid, like what the chicken in a chicken nugget actually is. Whether it's true or not, I have absolutely no idea, and I'm not like basing this on any facts whatsoever. I just thought I don't want to give him loads of like really nasty processed stuff. So if I'm going to get him freezer meals and stuff, yes, it's still processed, don't get me wrong, but I'll give him things that are like veggie fritters, or like I'll make something like that and then freeze those or whatever, just because I just thought surely that's better. It might not be, but surely it makes me feel better, so I feel like I'm just going to continue doing it. But yeah, he's not a vegetarian, I'm not raising him as vegetarian, it's just I guess, yeah, health reasons maybe. I don't know. Let me know if you guys are trying to like reduce your meat intake and stuff like that, because I do find I feel a lot better in myself when I don't eat loads of meat, basically. So I just thought, might as well do the same with George. I had a couple questions actually asking what car seat we have, and I have actually got a car seat from Graco. It's the Graco 360 spin car seat, the ones that spin round, obviously. They are so good, and I'm pretty sure they are the cheapest spinny round ones that they have. They actually gifted that to us ages and ages and ages ago, so this is definitely not part of that like sponsorship at all, but I love it. I absolutely love it, and it's yeah, it's just so much easier than having to like reach around. A spinny car seat is literally a must, and the Graco one I'm pretty sure is the cheapest on the market, but it's pretty much identical to the Joy one, or I think it's Joy, I'm not sure, but like pretty much everything other than the branding is the same, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, I'm just putting that out there. I'll link it down below, it's so good. The next question was about sleep, and it is, has George generally been a good sleeper, or have you had to do any sleep training at all? I have to be honest, George is pretty good at sleeping. However, I must stress, when we hit a sleep regression or when he is ill, it is utterly awful. It's terrible. His sleep is all over the place. But when he's past that, and I think he's past his current sleep the sleep regression that he's just had, he's past that now, and he's back to sleeping through the night. He wakes up in the night and he'll sort of have a little whinge or something, but as long as I don't go in, as long as he's not crying and like really upset, I won't go in, and he is happy and he's fine, he goes back to sleep and he gets self-soothes and goes back to sleep. He is a thumb sucker, I think that helps, because if he was on dummy still, I don't know, maybe he'd lose it, or if he like couldn't put it back in when he was younger, for example, that might have been an issue. But I know that thumb sucking comes with its own problems, like when is he ever going to stop sucking his thumb, because you can't take the thumb away from him, but it is what it is, and he's sucked his thumb since 4 months old, so it will phase out at some point, I'm hoping. But yeah, so he generally is a good sleeper, so I can't complain too much. But when I don't get sleep, because he's such a good sleeper and I'm not used to it, when he's bad at sleeping, like when he has his regressions or if he's sick or anything like that, I really struggle a lot. And one of my friends who's got a 2-year-old, 2.5-year-old, almost a year, There's literally 11 months between him and George, has never slept through the night, ever. And she just does it and she powers through, and I think, wow, you are absolutely amazing. And then I moan about like getting up twice in the night if George is going through a regression or something. Like, I just think I'm not cut out for it. So I guarantee you, if I had a second baby, there will be not a good sleeper. It will just be like chalk and cheese. I guarantee you. George was like the complete opposite of that. He was always in his next to me cot, and then he went into his big boy cot in his room at like 5-6 months. Pretty much has always been in there, other than when he's been sick or he has been in a sleep regression. He's probably come into my bed less than 5 times. But yeah, I would say he probably is a good sleeper in the grand scheme of things. And he tends to like not wake up until like 6-7. For people that aren't parents, it sounds like hell, but if you're a parent, you understand that's actually pretty good. So yeah, I don't know. It wasn't anything that I did though. It definitely wasn't because I knew what I was doing, because I absolutely didn't. It was just luck, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Another good question is, what has been your best and hardest stages with George with his age? This is so hard because I've found every single, basically from like day dot, I thought it was difficult. And then looking back on that, I thought, wow, it was so easy. And then as you get older, as he gets older, I think it's hard and harder and harder. And then I look back and think that was easy, that was easy, that was easy. So basically I just think every new challenge I find really difficult, and then the next challenge comes along and you think that challenge was easy. It just is what it is. So I would say toddlerhood for me absolutely is way harder than newborn, than when he started crawling or sitting up and all that kind of stuff. But this is just George. So I look back on my newborn days being like absolute piece of piss, but comparison to now, because I just find it like chaos. George is all over the place all the time. He cannot just sit down still. Like, that is not a thing in George's world. I don't think it's a thing in many toddler worlds, to be honest. He's a climber, he's a jumper, he's a hit your head. When he gets too excited, he even bites occasionally when he's teething and stuff. Like, he is a very boisterous boy. And at the moment, my biggest struggle, I think, is dealing with those temper tantrums and like things like biting or hitting when he gets overexcited, or like whatever that is. Understanding what that is, like, is that him being naughty, or is that him teething or getting excited or something like that? And then learning how to deal with that and how to like counteract that without shouting at him, but also helping him understand like wrong and right. Like, now is like the age where I need to like learn how to parent, like actually parent. Like, I've kept him alive this long, but now it's actually like parenting comes into it, and that scares the absolute hell out of me. I really don't know what my like style of parenting will be, but I do like the idea of gentle parenting as much as possible. I'm not entirely sure if I'm capable of it, to be honest, but I'll link down a couple of Instagram pages that I have seen down below that I have found helpful in my initial like research. But yeah, anything that you guys can link down below as well would be so grateful, and I'm sure that everyone else would really appreciate it as well. Moving on, I'm going to call this section like nursery, childcare and working mum section, maybe? So I've got quite a lot of questions about work and like being a mum at work and stuff like that, so I'm just gonna like answer maybe 3 or 4 of them, and hopefully that answers like the bulk of the questions. First question is, where do you work? And I guess what your job is. So I've got actually a whole video about my job specifically and like my route into it and everything, which I will pop up on the screen here, like a picture of the thumbnail, and I'll link the video down below. But essentially, like, long story short, I am a civil servant, which a lot of people are, what does that mean? Basically, I work for the government, which I know isn't the best thing to say right now, but yeah, so I am a civilian that works for the government, and whoever the government are, civil servants are always the same. So you're not political, like you're not involved in the politics, but you just are like behind the scenes making things happen, I would say, is like the very, very broad overview. If you want to Google what a civil servant is, I'm sure it'll give you a much better overview than I just have. But I've worked in lots of different government departments and stuff, and at the moment I work for the Ministry of Defence. And yeah, I don't want to go into like loads of detail. It's so like not fun and interesting or relevant to my like channel or anything, but yeah, that is what my day job is. I work 4 days a week. Since I had George, I used to work full time, and now I only work 4 days a week. I work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then I have Mondays off. So yeah, George is in nursery 4 days a week, and I'm working 4 days a week. And yeah, that is me. That's what I do. Another question is, I'm going back to work after maternity leave soon. I'm so nervous. Any tips? And I've spoken about this a lot. I found it so hard, and I still do. I've been back at work since August last year, so 6-7 months now. It's still hard. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna sit here and like, I don't wanna scare anyone, I don't wanna worry anyone, but oh my gosh, it's so hard. It's like the biggest adjustment ever. It's the next phase of life. Like, you've had your time with your little one off and you're going back to work now. Unless you can financially make that decision or want to even make that decision to stay at home, like if you can't do that or you don't want to do that, it's the next stage of life for you at the moment. And I know that sounds like, when I said that to myself 6 months ago when I was going back to work, I would cry. I would bawl my eyes out with the idea of it, and I would say probably did that every single day for at least 2 months. When I went back to work, it was awful. It was soul destroying. It really was. I enjoyed being back at work. I really do enjoy what I do. I like my job. It's not that. It's just everything hits differently when you're a mum. Everything. And especially that. And it feels like, personally, I had a baby in September 2020, and then there was lockdown after lockdown after lockdown, and I went back to work in August 2021. I had a bit of freedom within that time, but I found it really difficult because in the time that I had my maternity leave, most of the time I was locked in my house essentially, and then I just kind of had to go back to work. And then George went into a childminder, and then they were going out on days out and they were having loads of fun because the world started opening up a little bit more at that point, and I was at work and I hated it. And then when we moved back down here, he went to a nursery instead of a childminder, and I found it easier, weirdly. I'm not really sure why. I think probably because I was used to him being in childcare already. Like, it was just time. I think with time it just helps. I genuinely don't think I have any tips other than take it easy on yourself. Don't beat yourself up about going back to work, because at the end of the day it's either for your own like personal well-being or your mental health, or financially as a family you're doing something that is needed and required, and basically everyone feels exactly the same way as you do right now. So I really just don't be hard on yourself, because it's a decision you've had to make and you've made it for the right reasons for you, whatever those reasons might be. So just cut yourself some slack, and that's like the biggest tip I can possibly give you. Practical tips, I genuinely don't have any, because like I said, I was an absolute bawling, emotional mess during that period that he first went back, and still now sometimes I have those things. Like when he gets ill at nursery and stuff, I think, oh gosh, like if I didn't send him to nursery he wouldn't get ill. But then also he wouldn't get all the benefits that he has from nursery about learning and playing and developing and the social skills. Like there's so much that he gains from nursery. It's just, I wish it was my choice rather than what I had to do right now. But anyway, that's another question. But yeah, that's my biggest tip, is just to cut yourself some slack where you can. The next question is, how do you feel nursery has positively and negatively impacted George or affected George? And genuinely, I could not give you, okay, no I can. So what I was gonna say is I couldn't give you one negative thing about nursery like that has impacted on George at all, and then I thought of something. So all of the positives, let's go through those at the moment. Like, he is learning so much, he's having so much fun, he's socially interacting with other kids that he can't do at home. He physically can't do that. We don't have loads of mates and friends around here, especially none that have like kids his age or any kids at all. So like, I wouldn't be able to offer him that social interaction that nursery can offer him. He's coming on leaps and bounds, and there are so many positives. However, the one negative that I feel like has impacted on George is with his like sleep and his like tiredness when he gets home. But it's really not the end of the world. Like, that's more of a me thing, because when he gets home from nursery he is so tired because he has quite a long day. He goes in 8 till 5. It's quite a long day, and he does nap there, and his naps have got so much better. There, when he first started he was literally having like 10 minutes as a nap, and it was just like horrendous. He was like like, it took him a long time to like learn how to sleep properly at nursery, which he has now done, thankfully. He sleeps for about an hour now at nursery, which is like the biggest breakthrough ever. But comes home at 5 o'clock and you've got to give him dinner straight away, and then give him a bath, and then gets to about 6, half 6, and he has to be in bed because he is just so tired, and a tired baby or toddler, we all know, are not very fun to handle or deal with. But the thing is, I want to obviously spend time with him, I want to see him, I want to play with him, I want to cuddle him. He doesn't want to do any of those things. He just wants to cry or go to bed, which I get, because imagine, like, that day is a very long day for a little one, so I get it, it's more of a me thing. But I guess, like, the impact it has on him is he's upset or tired or whatever when he gets home because of such a long day. So that's, I would say, like, the negative impact on him. But everything else is so positive. In my ideal world, I've mentioned this before, I would love to be able to put George into nursery for shorter days, whether those be mornings or afternoons, or like shorter, like, school type days, like 9 till 3 or like something like that, and not have to have that really long day, because I feel like that would counteract him being so tired when he gets home. But at the moment we don't have that option, and I've said this a lot actually about me not having the option, and a lot of people get confused because I know that you guys know I make money from YouTube and from Instagram and stuff. I do make money from YouTube and Instagram, and it is a really good amount of money, and I'm so beyond grateful and lucky to even be in that position. However, it means that you're self-employed, which means if you're trying to get a mortgage, which we are, coincidentally, you can't use that unless you've got 2 years worth of accounts, like proof of how much money you've made and spent and stuff as a business or a self-employed person. You can't get a mortgage. You can't use it to, like, show that you make money on a monthly basis to apply for a mortgage. So I have to stay at least until we've moved houses, and probably a lot longer after that, to be honest. But I have to stay working at least how many hours I'm working now, so 4 days a week, until at least we've got a mortgage. And then if I maybe want to cut down to 3 days, or if I even take a career break or something, there's the option to do that after we have a mortgage. But for now, I have to go to work, and therefore George has to go to nursery. That's just life. It just is what it is. So yeah, that's just to clear that up, because I've had questions on that in the past, and I've always thought, oh, it's too difficult to explain, but I feel like actually it's not, because I've just told you that we're looking for a house. Because if I hadn't told you that before, you'd be like, well, it doesn't matter because you've got a house. If that makes sense. I really genuinely don't even know what the original question was now, because I've been talking for so long. I'm going to do one last question because I feel like I've been talking forever. I promise, do a Q&A on my channel that is wedding related, because I have got a few wedding questions, but I'm not going to be able to get to them in this video. So I'll do like a special Wedding Wednesday video, I think, for the wedding questions. And if you're like here for the wedding stuff, you'll watch it. If you're not here for the wedding stuff, don't feel like you have to watch it. The last question I wanted to answer generally was about, like, money, savings, my budget spreadsheet, and like investing and stuff like that. So it was basically like, what do you do and how do you manage your money? And I found this difficult to, like, even think about answering, because sometimes I think I'm really great with money, and other times I think I'm really bad with money. But basically, how I, like, work my life is I get my income from my proper job, my desk job, and that is £1,700 a month. That is like my money that I spend on the mortgage, the bills, like food, shopping, all of that stuff. My everything that I have to buy, I buy with that. And then any money that I make from YouTube, which is all extra in my eyes, it's not something that I pay the bills with, but it's something like I put towards deposits for houses, for honeymoons, for weddings, and all of that stuff. So that is like extra stuff. But generally for my, like, budgeting day-to-day stuff, I have a spreadsheet, which you guys probably have seen if you watch my channel regularly. But I do it every January. I did it last year and I did it this year as well. Every January I do a budget spreadsheet, and I put in my income and all of my outgoings, and I'm very truthful with myself when I do my outgoings, because yes, you have, like, things that come up regularly, like your mortgage and any, like, electricity bills and, like, all of those kind of things. But then I'm really brutally honest with myself in, like, the other section, like the other not necessity sections, but sections I believe we all have in our lives. Like, we all get takeaways, whether we admit it or not. We do. We spend money on takeaways. We eat out occasionally. We buy clothes. We buy things on Amazon. We, you know, need extra things like toiletries and, like, things that might not come under, like, the weekly shop. Anything that you buy basically goes on this spreadsheet, and I will link it down below. It's on my Etsy page, and I will link the video as well that I mentioned the budget spreadsheet in, and, like, go through it, and you can see exactly, like, my budget breakdown as to what I do with everything like literally all of my money. You can see exactly what I do with it. I genuinely don't care about sharing these kind of things with you because I think it's helpful to see real life like examples. I really love videos like that, so I thought I would do one myself back in January, so I will link that down below. But with my extra money from like YouTube and stuff, it all goes in like little pots, and I use an app called Hyperjar, who I've worked with previously, but I think the app is so good. I genuinely really love it. On the app you have like different pots, and you can allocate money into each of those pots. For example, at the moment I've got a honeymoon pot. I have like car maintenance for if I need an MOT or a service or something goes badly wrong with my car, for example. I've got lots of different pots, and like birthdays, Christmas, different pots that I know are expenses that are going to come up. I think what is called a sinking fund, but I have them allocated into separate pots on this app, which is basically a bank account. That's all it is. That makes my brain happy because it's aesthetically pleasing and it is organised, and I know where my money is. I can access my money at any time if I need it, but it's all separated, so I know how much money I've got to put towards the honeymoon. I know how much money I've got to put towards the wedding, like all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, that is how I like manage my money as a very, very broad overview. But if you want to see a video like dedicated towards that, about all of those things, like how I use Hyperjar, how I use my spreadsheet, like other things, let me know. Let me know. But I think, like I said, I've been rambling for so long. So I'm going to love you and leave you, and I will see you in the next one very soon. Bye guys.
You glue all the pieces back together. Yeah, you take all my wrongs and make them better. Yeah, you're making me wanna try forever. And I feel so free, oh my sweet baby.